Hi, this is Eric from Longbox Review at longboxreview.com. Welcome to the show and welcome to my latest pull list review for... Wait, what? No, wait. No, this is the all-new, all-different Longbox Review comic chat. Yes, that's right. It's a comic chat, not a pull list review. How is this different? Well, it's not really that different, even though I just said that. It's still my pull list review, but I decided to add a few more elements to it and then expand it beyond a pull list review. So this episode, I'll be talking about some particular comics, the review part, and then also a little bit of news that I've gathered from the interwebs. And then future comic chat episodes will feature some previews, spotlights, and maybe some more stuff down the road. So I hope you enjoy this slight change in format, but it's basically the same show. I missed some things that I had been doing before with some other folks, but just because of we couldn't do those, or I wanted to focus on some other things. And anyway, I'm going to bring in some of that stuff, and then hopefully maybe some guests down the road as well to join me in these discussions. We shall see. But I am woefully behind on my reviews here. So I originally was going to throw together all of the June through August books in one massive episode, and then decided that would be a long episode to record and edit. And so I wouldn't get it out in time, or not in time, but just it wouldn't be out soon. And I want to get through these. So my endeavor here, the little behind the scenes look at my process, is I'm going to talk about some of the books I read in June of 2021, and then, like I said, some other stuff here. So specifically, some books I read in June. I'm going to spotlight Thief of Thieves, Volume 1, the short graphic novel Shortcomings, and some parts of All-Star Comics, issues 3 through 6. I also read, during that time, in June, Star Trek Year 5, Volume 3, Homesick Pilots, Volume 1, Seven Secrets, Volume 1, and November, Volume 1. And I'll have a little bit to say about those as well. But first, the news. All right. So these two bits of news came out of or around, after, before, I don't remember now, New York Comic Con. And so these are the two big things out of the bits of news that I've been collecting here in the last week or two, because they're the two things that interest me the most. And so I just wanted to get those out there and talk about those a little bit. So first up is the big one, the huge one is, of course, and I know you've heard of this, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Saga Returns. Yes, Saga, that wonderful series by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, will be returning with issue number 55 on January 26th, 2022. So here's a quote here from Chris Arendt at Newsarama. The hit series Saga will return after a 2.5-year hiatus this January, as I just said, as part of Image Comics' 30th anniversary celebration. And also, there are 54 issues remaining. So we are at the halfway point of the series. Vaughn talked about a planned 108 issues, which I didn't know until just recently. I knew that they were going to do about 100 issues before, but I guess I didn't realize it was 108. So I'm very excited about this. Saga was one of the top comic books each and every month, in my estimation, from my viewpoint, as it was coming out. And even though it's been 2.5 years, I am still very much looking forward to continuing reading that series. I have a friend who thinks or wonders if it will be just as good after so long. Will people care? That kind of stuff. I think so. I guess that he has a valid point in terms of, will the hiatus, or how is the hiatus changed anything that Vaughn and Staples are doing in terms of the production of the story involved here? So I imagine that won't be an issue, but it will be interesting to find out, I suppose. And then the second bit of wonderful news coming out around about New York Comic Con is that Kurt Busiek's Astro City, Aerosmith, and more are coming to Image Comics next year as well. I assume, again, part of Image Comics' 30th anniversary celebration. So we'll get new Aerosmith, which, interestingly enough, I knew about this comic when it was being published, and I was back then, when it was being published. When was that? I don't know. I don't know what the year was, but I missed out on the first, few issues, but I saw it in previews or something, or on the shelves or whatever. And I love the concept. I love Kurt Busiek's writing. The Carlos Pacheco art looked pretty damn cool. But I was just going to wait for the trade, and then the trade came out, and I somehow missed it. And then it was out of print and really hard to find. Okay, now skip ahead several years, and I noticed that it was on the DC Universe app, but only 2 issues. The first 2 issues were on the app, but I read them not knowing that would be the only 2 that would appear on the app, and it was beautiful. It's a great story, wonderfully drawn by Pacheco and the other artists. I can't wait for this, but I skipped ahead. So then I'm like, okay, 2 issues, and I wait and I wait and I wait, and no more issues are on there. And I even tweeted at the DC Comics and said, what's up with this? Give me more Aerosmith. Crickets, right? So fast forward again sometime, and I have ordered all of the issues. So I ordered the back issues. And so I have the 6 issues that they are now going to collect in a new trade next year, along with a new series, continuing that series. So it's funny how comic book publishing works like that. So I would have preferred to have this in a trade, but I'm more than happy that I have the issues, and who knows, maybe I'll get the trade and get rid of the single issues. Because folks, I mentioned this in my episode 200 that I am trying to sell some books. So if you go to longboxreview.com, you can find the post there, the sticky post, and a link to the spreadsheet showing all of the books that I'm wanting to get out of my collection. Plug. All right. Anyway, so there's that. So new Aerosmith with Carlos Pacheco in January, with that collection that I mentioned coming in February, which I would think they would do it the other way around, but okay. Astro City is returning also. That would be in March, along with the new collections of previous material, which, oh God, I hope that they are able to collect some of the collections that I have not yet purchased. I'm thinking of the Dark Side. I have the Volume 1 Dark Side volume, and I want the others. So those were also out of print. So here we go. I guess the moral of the story is, if you wait long enough, something will return. All right. And so here is some more words about this from the press release from Image Comics. Quote, also in the works is Free Agents, a new series launched from Busiek and co-writer Fabian Nicieza and artist Stephen Mooney, and the return of Autumn Lands from Busiek with Benjamin Dewey and Jordi Belair, all planned for late 2022. All right, some good stuff coming from Image Comics there next year, so very much looking forward to that. And also, obviously, to see what else they will announce for their 30th anniversary. Okay, let's hit the comics here. Like I said, I read Star Trek Year 5, Volume 3. This continues to be a wonderful read, especially, like I've said before, if you're a Star Trek fan. We get the origin of Gary 7 in this, which, that's that whole idea, the concept of Gary 7 from the original series. It's just always fascinated me. I would have loved to have seen that turned into a television series, as was intended by Gene Roddenberry. But here, we get more stuff here, which, sort of scratches that itch. So I'm very much looking forward to Volume 4, which I think will be the final volume. I think. Or is there going to be a volume 5? I don't remember. Anyway, I think it's the next volume that it will end the year 5 series of stories. So looking forward to that. I also read, like I said, Homesick Pilots Volume 1 and Seven Secrets Volume 1. Those didn't really connect with me, especially Homesick Pilots. While I liked the art, especially the coloring of the book, the story was just to me, and this is on me. Maybe I just, I read it through it quickly and it, something didn't quite connect or whatever. And so I'm thinking of it, less positively. Anyway, I thought the story was kind of wanting to do this and do that and do this. And it's like, make up your mind, connect these things together and, more cohesively. And I don't know, tell a more cohesive story. I don't know. Your mileage may vary. I'd be very interested to hear what you have to say about Homesick Pilots. I know that same friend who was contemplating the return of Saga, he also liked that book. So it's probably just me. And then Seven Secrets it was fine. It was all right. I think it was more, I don't know, it seemed more like a book for younger readers, and it wasn't connecting with me. And I gave it to Madison, and she was flipping through it and said she really liked it. So, there you go. That's a nice thing about this. I can, depending on the book, I can say, hey, Madison, you might like this. Try this out. And, somebody else will appreciate it besides me, or when it's not me, I should say. And then, November Volume 1. So, I'm not sure why I didn't order these immediately, but, maybe I just forgot about it. Anyway, I finally got, November Volume 1 because Elsa Chartier, was doing the art. And I also was curious, how this story by, Matt Fraction could unfold over 4 books. So it's a 4-volume set. And so, mostly I just got it for the art, like I said. Anyway, my friends over at the Never Stay Dead podcast covered the series in their June 19th, 2021 episode. And they talked about all 4 volumes. So kind of like the overall story. And they didn't enjoy it as much as I think I might, but, I guess we'll see. But generally, the major plot, I found the major plot of this volume a little too reminiscent of Desmond's storyline in the TV series Lost. But I do enjoy the fractured narrative structure and like I said, the art, the minimal color palette, the differing shades of color depending on whose story we're looking at. I really dig Chartier's art. So. All right. Little bits on those books that I read. And so here we go with the spotlight bit on, and I'll start with Thief of Thieves. Volume 1, I Quit. And this collects issues 1 through 7. And this is from Image Comics. This is by Robert Kirkman, Nick Spencer, Sean Martinborough, Felix Serrano, Russ Wooten, and Sina Grace. All right. What is Thief of Thieves about? Conrad Paulson lives a secret double life as Master Thief Redmond. There is nothing he can't steal, nothing he can't have, except for the life he left behind. Now with a grown son he hardly knows and an ex-wife he never stopped loving, Conrad must try to piece together what's left of his life before the FBI finally catches up to him. But it appears they are the least of his worries. So I actually came to Thief of Thieves many years ago with a reprint of issue 1. I think it was part of the Image First series of books that they were doing, where they would reprint issue number 1s of their various series to get you interested. And I read that, or maybe it was a Free Comic Day edition of the series. I don't remember. All I remember was I read it and I'm like, I like this. This is really good. And so I wanted to get it. And then kind of like, I guess, Aerosmith, I guess I just kind of forgot about it. And then suddenly there are 6 volumes out now. Anyway, so I decided that I would start getting them this year. And I have now, I think, volume 3 or 4 that I've purchased. And I plan to get the rest soon because based on this, man, this is good. All right. what do I think about Thief of Thieves? So Conrad is a thief who decides it's time for him to quit the biz, as I just read. If only his son were as smart as he. So there you go. I think that's where that series blurb was heading there. And I should say, I should have said this before. Obviously, I may spoil some details in these books. So anyway. You've been warned. So anyway, helping out his son requires a deal with the devil of sorts and some Ocean's 11-like planning, which all of that appeals to me. I really dig those Ocean's 11 movies. Well, some of them, I should say, some of them, but heist movies and thieves or spies, all that kind of stuff where somebody is trying to obtain something and they have a certain skill set, or they bring together a group of people who have certain specific skill sets. I love all that kind of stuff. So that, like I said, all Ocean's 11 like planning, all while a zealous FBI agent is hot on his trail. And so, generally speaking, I felt that this is a skillfully told heist comic book with some interesting characters and interesting plot. This guy, decides he's going to get out of the biz. Well, obviously he's making money, not just for himself. And so there's that aspect of it. He declares his love for his ex-wife, and apparently that's the reason why he's doing this. It doesn't seem quite right to me. Anyway, not sure exactly what's going on there. If this is really the reason he's quitting, but that's what we're shown in volume 1. And then there's the whole father estranged son relationship thing that's gonna come, I assume, down the road. And so basically he's a quote unquote bad guy, but he has a bit of a heart of gold, and I love those kind of characters. And so I also like how we get lessons in this book about basically how to steal things. I love it. I just like that kind of those kind of stories. So I love how the creative team introduces a character, and we get a little bit of interaction with Conrad and that character, and then we get a flashback providing necessary backstory. We're shown who these people were and are, instead of just being told, or just someone being introduced and we get nothing. I like how they did that. They do that with Cecilia, his assistant / partner / whatever, which is that was that. Like I said, when they show us things like how to steal stuff. They meet sort of like Batman and Jason Todd, post-crisis. She's trying to steal a car, and he intervenes and said, "You don't want to do it that way." And so, this is how you do it. It also makes me glad I never attached a spare key underneath my car, based on that little interaction of theirs. Back to the overall story, we get a scene in one issue that is later explained in a different issue, I believe. So I love that we're not getting spoon-fed everything all at once. And Kirkman is great at doing that, at introducing elements, and then we get the payoff down the road. And a lot of writers do that. There's a certain way that Kirkman does it that really appeals to me. And well, I guess this is Kirkman and Spencer, I should say. So they're doing a really good job of, and it's probably, I don't know, maybe it's mostly Spencer, I would think here. I think Kirkman may have come up with a concept and Spencer's executing it. So if that's the case, I've not always been the biggest Nick Spencer as a writer fan, and this may change my mind. So we'll see how it goes. But all that's to say, I think the story unfolds at a really good pace, with layers upon layers delightfully revealed every so often. So just when maybe you're getting a little tired of reading about Conrad and Cecilia, then we move on to something else, or we get a flashback, or we get an explanation of something that we just saw play out, but we get more details later, and that happens in this as well. For future volumes, I will be very interested to see if the most important relationships in this book continue to be with the women in his life, such as Cecilia. I mentioned the FBI agent Cohen, and in particular his ex-wife, Audrey. And also how his son continues to impact his life. Little things from the series I really liked. His announcement at the end of issue 1 that he quits as he's being celebrated by his this organization he belongs to. I thought that was a great setup. I remember that from reading that Image First book or whatever, the first issue that I have. There's a point early on when Agent Cohen or Conrad gets up in the morning, gets dressed, and heads into the kitchen, and Agent Cohen is already there cooking him breakfast. And I love how familiar they are with each other. It's kind of like it's a predator-prey situation. Could they even be romantic partners later? I hope they don't do that. But, in terms of television and movies, that's how things like that get set up. Agent Cohen's boss, Bev, is a hoot. The way that she interacts with Cohen and her son in one particular scene is just freaking funny. I think if I have a criticism of this book, it's, and I think I just mentioned this a little bit ago, but it's that Conrad's motive for wanting to quit seems weak. Ostensibly, it's because he wants to be with his wife, but after so long, why now? What's compelling him at this point in time to do this? I don't think we've gotten that. I think that's something that will come in future volumes. So at least I hope so. I hope it's not just, I woke up one morning and I'm lonely type of thing. But, that could work too, I suppose. Kirkman and Spencer are certainly, and the artists are certainly capable of, just using that as a springboard to tell interesting stories. So really enjoyed this. It's a hell of a concept that everybody executed wonderfully. So I highly recommend Thief of Thieves. Okay, the next book in my spotlight list is Shortcomings. This is by Adrian Tomine, published by Drawn and Quarterly, as it says here on the cover, a New York Times notable book. I don't know exactly what that means, other than, I know what the words mean, but what is the significance of this being a New York Times notable book? I'll have to look that up, I guess. Anyway, so Shortcomings is a short graphic novel by Tomine, like I said. It's only 108 pages, but man, so much in here. I ordered this. I thought I wasn't going to get it. So I ordered this from In Stock Trades because I was looking for some different kinds of things to read a while back. I still have a bunch of those in my wish list there. But this one looked, based on the cover, the art, and the description of it, made me really want to read this. And so I ordered it. And then when my order came, or did I get an email? I think I got an email saying that they were having a hard time getting it, and I could continue to let them try and get it, or I can tell them no, just refund my money. But I really wanted it, so I said no, we'll just continue waiting to get this. And weeks go by, weeks. I don't remember how many weeks. It was a while, and then finally one day it just showed up. And so, I get it out of the packaging, and as I do with all my books when I get them, I just kind of flip through them. Just something I do. I'm not sure why. And so I was flipping through it, and I just open up the pages, and there's this nice 2-page title sheets where you get side view headshots of all the major characters in here. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I just reading through, I start reading it. Sometimes I do that, and I couldn't put it down. And basically I read the whole thing in that right then. And that's not normally what I do. I try to read my books in the sort of in the order that I get them. And this certainly jumped to the top. So anyway, so what is Shortcomings about? All right. Ben Tanaka has problems. In addition to being rampantly critical, sarcastic, and insensitive, his long-term relationship is awash in turmoil. His girlfriend, Miko, suspects that Ben has a wandering eye, and more to the point, it's wandering in the direction of white women. This accusation and its various implications becomes the subject of heated, spiraling debate, setting in motion a story that pits California against New York, devotion against desire, and truth against truth. Sometimes these book blurbs have a certain ring to them, like a literary agent wrote them, or the editor instead of the writer. Anyway, this Shortcomings was originally serialized in Tomein's comic Optic Nerve, if you are familiar with that. Oh, this is the problem when I'm just kind of riffing off my notes. I miss things. It was 3 months. It was 3 months from when I ordered the book until I got the book. So there you go. So they say write what you know, and I kind of got that vibe when I was reading this. I don't know if Tomein has had a relationship like this, but I'm sure he's known people that have had relationships like this, with Ben and the various women in his life. But I will admit parts of this, okay, especially the arguments between Ben and Miko, certainly ring true for me. Ben is such an ass. He's angry and defensive all the time and can't see past his own nose. He ruins, in this book, he ruins 3 relationships with women in his life. He takes Miko for granted. He misreads the interest of Autumn. And in the end, verbally attacks Sasha after she tells him she's getting back together with her girlfriend. This guy is a wreck, and he's not a likable character at all. But it's the journey that is, and the way that Tomein tells it is that makes this such a compelling read. As far as Ben goes, though, it's a good thing he has such a good friend in Alice, who is probably the best character in the book. I wouldn't mind reading another book by Tomein about Alice. And it's her relationship with Meredith in the book that is depicted as the most healthy one out of everybody here, which sharply contrasts the singleness of Ben, the pathetic nature of Ben. And in the finale, it focuses on Ben's confrontation with Miko in New York. That's the whole California versus New York thing. And despite the mistakes made by Miko as well, Ben still manages to make everything about himself. And in the end, he pleads with her, don't do this to me. It's always about Ben. Like I said, he can't see past his own nose. He's so short-sighted. He's the worst kind of man. Well, no, I guess there are a few worse kinds, but in terms of relationships, he's not great. And spoilers here, the way that Tomein frames Ben's life on that final page is just wonderfully done. As the plane takes off, the world outside the window slowly changes, disappearing, while Ben sits there unchanging. And I thought, oh my God, that's such a good way to end this book. And it's so sad. And like I said, pathetic. This guy will never be happy. And that's partly why this book is so sad. Just, despite the fact that he's sarcastic and cranky and insulting and dumb, you still root for him a little bit, or, I did anyway. Whenever I'm reading a book, I'm always wanting the main character to be redeemable. And there's not much here in terms of redeeming quality. So I talk generally about Tomein's style, but in particular, he does something that I don't think that I see in most comic books. He doesn't do transitions between scenes, between one set of panels and another. So we get one scene that will end, and in the very next panel on the page is another scene. So usually the scene will end on the last panel as you're reading, and then the next set of panels below that is where the new scene comes in. But not always. Sometimes it's in the middle, or it's unusual. It's very unusual, but it works. He doesn't think we as readers are dumb. He knows that we can follow along. So I appreciate that. it makes me wonder, is this a particular Tomine stylistic thing, or is he using a style of comic book storytelling with which I'm not familiar? So if you know, please let me know. I'd be very curious. Plus, I want to know, I want to get more of Tomine's books and see how he tells those stories, and see if he does. Is it variations of a theme, or does he mix things up? I really like to see how his other works compare to this one. And then finally, I have to appreciate a comic book that makes a direct Lolita reference. When there's a scene where Alice calls Ben Mr. Humbert from Lolita. All right, finally here I've got some thoughts about All-Star Comics. This is issues 3 through 6. Our Man has long been one of my favorite Justice Society of America characters, one of my favorite Golden Age concepts. He's so hokey, but I love it. He's got this really odd yellow and black costume with a hood, but it's his power set. He develops this pill, the Miraclo pill, that gives him basically superpowers for an hour. I've always enjoyed superhero characters with such limitations, and the Golden Age characters were usually like, they had one thing that they did well, and that's why they had to team up, is because together they were stronger. They were stronger together, and Our Man was kind of a conglomeration of that in his own form. So he takes the pill and he's faster, he's stronger, all that kind of stuff. But like I said, it only lasts an hour. So, he's got to work around that limitation. So anyway, I realized that, despite the fact that I have liked Our Man for decades, I never had the opportunity to read his early appearances. And so, through the miracle of the DC Universe app, I was able to go back to All-Star Comics number 3, when these characters first appeared, and start, I think that's right, and start reading along those early adventures. Now, those stories featuring the Justice Society characters, they would have, each issue would have a case, and the characters would come together, and then they'd split up, and each chapter would be about their particular adventure, and then they'd come back at the end to wrap it all up. You may think this is really stupid. I didn't read all the other characters. I read the opening, and then I skipped to the Our Man part, and then I came back at the end to see if he had anything to do with the ending, with the wrap up. So that's how I decided to read it. Anyway, I found that these Golden Age stories are not great, but it was still interesting to see how things develop. For example, in issue 4, it's stated that Miraclo gives Our Man the strength of 50 men, and the speed of light. Now, I assume that at least that last part, that second part, is poetic license on the writer's part. But interesting if not, right? So, strength of 50 men. I've never seen a reference of Our Man having the strength of 50 men in more modern appearances of the character, just that he was super strong. So that's interesting. I'm curious to see if that idea continues as I read these issues. In a couple issues, the cops think he's a criminal. In fact, he gets, in one of those, he gets framed by people as a thief. And, the cops just automatically jump to conclusions and want to arrest him. But then, at least in one of those issues, the citizenry say, that are just kind of assembled outside, where the cops are like, no, he's a good guy. You shouldn't call him a thief. And the cops are like, okay. It's just, like I said, these Golden Age stories are not the best executed. Speaking of bad, Our Man's quips are cringeworthy. They're so much worse than Robin's holy whatevers and Spider-Man's taunts. But it's interesting to read this Golden Age stuff. now I just have to go and reread those stories for the Green Lantern, the Golden Age Green Lantern stories, which I started to do, but I didn't continue with it because besides Our Man, Green Lantern is he's probably my favorite Golden Age character. So, you may have noticed I didn't give you credits because there weren't any. In one of the issues, the name Bernard Bailey was on one story, but that was it. So it was really hard to find credits for this, at least as I recall. Maybe I didn't do enough research. Anyway, that's one of the bad things about these old comic books is, they were the focus wasn't on the creators. It was about the publisher and the characters, the stories themselves. So anyway, all right, there you go. That's my comic chat for stuff that I read in June with a little bit of news thrown in there. We shall see how the future Comic Chats episodes go. It'll be about the same makeup, but there you go. All right. Send me feedback. longboxreview@gmail.com. Leave messages on the website, longboxreview.com, or on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram @longboxreview. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.